welcome to SuperStree, Women in the Startup Ecosystem, the show that talks about the journey, the challenges, and the path ahead for women in the startup ecosystem. We put light to make women realize that no less than the sky is the limit for them in this emerging world of startup. I'm your host, Cheshta Jain. Super 3 Women in the Startup Ecosystem is a podcast series by Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. DPIIT is a central government department under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Startup India is a flagship initiative under DPIIT intended to build a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation and startups in the country that will drive sustainable economic growth and generate large scale employment opportunities in the country. My guest of today is an entrepreneur enrooted with the culture of India, working towards bringing equality of resources between rural and urban areas. She has recently been recognized under the Fortune 40 Under 40 list and has been the recipient of multiple awards like Forbes 30 Under 30 Social Entrepreneur of the Year, Women Transforms India Award, Digital Women of the Year, CNBC's Women Entrepreneur of the Year, L'Oreal Women of Worth, and many more. Please welcome Ms. Ajaita Shah, founder and CEO, Frontier Markets. Hi, Ajaita. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ajaita. Thank you so much for having me.
Ajaita, why did you feel the need of starting a platform for rural households? What inspired you, and when exactly did you decide to begin Frontier Markets?
So, I started Frontier Markets when I was pretty much, I think, 24 or 25 years old. I had moved from America right after college at 20, and I worked for several years in the microfinance sector, really working on delivering services to rural women in villages where they live. And in that 5 years of time, I literally worked in over 5,000 plus villages. I was working in Andhra, Karnataka, Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, and working with brilliant rural women and really understanding the challenges that they face when it comes to access to quality services. What I realized at that time was that rural families are the most dignified families of the country, right? We're talking about 800 million people that are a part of India. And today they feed the entire country, they feed the world. But when it comes to their own access to quality services, healthcare, clean water, electricity, cheap finance, they're somewhere left behind. And the challenge of not being able to serve them with everything that they need means that we're depriving them from the ability to actually becoming the leaders of the world. And so working in microfinance, I realized that. I saw these beautiful women that were aspirational, that wanted to really make something for themselves, create a future for their children. But somewhere, because people weren't giving them access to these products and services, they were left behind. So Frontier Markets for me was more of a motivation to say, how might we better deliver services to the most dignified part of the country, which is rural India? And what I realized was the best way to do that was to become a platform that actually connects quality services to rural families where they live in the 700,000 villages that they actually reside in. And how do you become the gap to fill that, to make that happen at scale?
That was a great idea, Ajaita. So now I like you to tell our viewers the meaning of digital and how does Frontier Market makes use of digital technique in its operations.
So digital India is an interesting concept, especially when it comes to rural. One thing I think is really important for us to understand is that rural India is a bazaar market, right? It's not a marketplace. Everywhere you go, people like to build relationships,
Right.
connect with each other, know each other, and trust is a really important element in terms of how you create a day-to-day life. At the same time, rural India for a very long time wasn't going to be a place where digital could be even an option because we did not have internet connectivity, we did not have smartphones. But all of that changed in 2018. All of a sudden, rural families had access to smartphones. There's almost 88% internet penetration today in rural villages in the country, which created an opportunity to take that human trust component and combine that with digital innovation. So for us, digital is literally the combination of bringing that human touch and applying technology. How we do that is through our network of women entrepreneurs. So we have invested in rural women that live in the villages where they've been the trust creators of their communities. And they are the ones that are physically meeting the rural families and getting to know them. But through our technology, which is the Meri Saheli app, they're using an actual tech platform to then connect them to be able to make online purchases. So all of a sudden, technology brings in data, efficiency, supply chain, e-commerce, and services, but it's all being delivered through the trusted hands of rural women. So that's our concept of phygital, combining the human with the digital.
So, Frontier Markets promotes women entrepreneurship by providing them an e commerce platform to sell their products, as you just said. It also provides employment opportunities to women, and you fondly call them Sahelis. How did you align these social causes with a business model? And as a businesswoman, did you ever feel like training women is relatively more time consuming and resource consuming?
So, first and foremost, I think the most important thing to establish is that in our perspective as a business, we believe that investing in women is smart. And the reason why it's smart is because when you're trying to build trust in a community, when you're trying to get customers, you're trying to create a marketplace, you need someone that is on the inside, that truly knows those rural families, that can truly do communication, that can get data and insights, deep data and insights about someone in the household because they know them the best. And we realize women are the best marketeers when it comes to that. So when we set up the business was actually linked to the fact that strategically, if you wanted to win the hearts and minds of rural consumers, you can do that through the leverage of a woman herself. So we never saw women as a charity system. We saw it as a smart business decision to actually invest in them. So I just wanted to establish that. But also, what the way we invest in women is we recognize that India today has over 80 million women that are part of the self-help group infrastructure that was created by the government. And this is a phenomenal, powerful infrastructure of women that are in collectives, that have bank accounts, they know how to save and earn money. They've been trained through community organizations, they've been socially empowered. What they're yearning for is an income opportunity, right? A job. The challenge that they have is that they don't have enough time in the day to be able to travel to 10 villages, work 8 hours a day, because she's also still a mother. She's also still a farmer. She's also still a community leader. She's also still a government worker. So if you think about all the work that she does, she maybe has 2 hours to do something else, but she wants to because she wants to earn money. And honestly, naam kamana hai, right? And I think the thing that what was exciting about the Saheli initiative was we were able to help her do work in her own hours flexibly to the community where she lives in. She doesn't travel. It's become a work from home opportunity. The technology started off as e-commerce. Today, it's everything. So she can learn, earn, and access through this platform. So by learning, I mean we've added training, counseling, career training programs, and certification programs. So she can learn how to open a new business or help others open businesses and get them certified through a training, whether they want to open a beauty parlor or they want to set up a tailoring dukan. She can earn by collecting data and surveys and actually help us understand how to build better insights about these rural families. And she can access services ranging from everything from financial services to agri solutions to healthcare services, because we realize it's not enough to have her sell things or buy things. You need a whole entire journey to help her flourish. Today, that's 25,000 women entrepreneurs that are Sahelis. But the most important thing is they've helped a million other women get access to better livelihood opportunities or better services that help them also earn income at scale.
So, Chaita, as you just said that women also have their households and they're still mothers. So, I'd like to ask, taking from that, that role of women is still critical in the country because they are still confined to serve these duties majorly. So, tell me, how true is this perception even today? in rural areas?
So I think in rural areas, absolutely, right? I would say urban is still modernizing in a way where you might now have more, equal parentship and things like parenthood and things like that. Or there's a concept called unpaid care, and you're seeing more movements happening on the urban side.
Right.
And frankly, with digital innovation, urban women have been able to work from home and be able to get opportunities in a different way. In rural, that's not the case, right? In rural, she's expected to do everything. She's expected to be the 100% parent,
Yeah.
right? The 100% wife, the 100% daughter in law, the 100% homemaker. And, what for me has been astounding, having spent so much time in the field in the last 18 years, and I think this is what makes the work exciting, but also rural women more powerful, is that despite all of that, they still, even if they have 45 minutes, they'll find a way to be entrepreneurial. They'll find a way to earn new money. They'll find a way to help someone in the community. So these women, I'm sorry, in my mind, are superheroes. Like they literally do it all. And my joke with them always is like, "Aap sote nahi ho kya?" Right? But the difference is that they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You and I probably get up at like 8, right?
Right.
And even if we get up at 7, it's probably because we're doing yoga, right? But these women are getting at 4 and they're going to bed at like 10. So they optimize their hours and they are constantly working and they don't know what aram means. They don't relax, but they're ambitious and they're determined because I think what also makes them really different is that as a mother of 4 kids, at the age of 29, they have also a responsibility where they want to see their kids aspire and have a different life, which I think is very unique.
Right. So within this very framework, how did you ensure that they get employment opportunity and they become entrepreneurs given the stereotypical world that they live in? How did you ensure that?
I think that what's really important is to give credit where it's deserved. I think that the grassroots communities of India, the NGOs that have been working in these rural areas, frankly, way before any market player came in, um, they've worked with development organizations and with government to build, I think, the first level of social empowerment, where these women that were in Parda, the first time they came out of the house was not because of us. Frankly, it was because of the groundwork that I think civil society had established on the ground, and I think they've done a beautiful job. So women being aspiring to do something and believing they can leave the house and getting access to community was something that has been beautifully established not by us but by others. I think where we come in as a market player or as a business is that we're elevating that potential. So there's a beautiful foundation there. We know, though, these women want to earn money, right? They don't want to just earn money once in a blue moon. They want long-term, consistent income opportunities. They want to grow businesses. They are entrepreneurial. So Frontier Markets comes in saying, now that you're ready to leave the house, and now that you're motivated to work, let's find opportunities for you to make it happen. What made us unique is the way that we designed our program. We insisted that women did not have to leave their village. We ensured that they would take care of 100 households versus 1,000 households. We also saw them as a multitasker. So instead of just doing banking services or just doing agri services or just doing health, we said, why can't you do it all as a demand generator, as a facilitator for the few? And that's what's the game changing piece, because then she started earning a lot of money, not having to move a lot, but then she took advantage of her own, I think, asset, which is her social influence.
Great. So now talking about you, Ajaita, as a woman entrepreneur, how would you describe your journey in terms of the challenges encountered in building connects, approaching investors, pitching and raising funds? And also if there's any particular instance which you found very hard to face and overcome.
So I always say this, there's a difference between the typical entrepreneurial journey challenge, irrespective of whether you're a man or a woman.
Okay.
And then, of course, there are these barriers and stereotypes that you face, irrespective of being an entrepreneur or not, just being a woman, right? So, and I'd like to, I always say this because there's always a third question that I always love colleagues to ask is what also makes you strive and thrive being a woman entrepreneur that is a differentiator than being a male entrepreneur in this sector, especially on a social business perspective.
Right.
So, with that in context, I'll say that the entrepreneurial journey was absolutely challenging because when we started 10 years ago in Jaipur, of all places, right? I mean, we're Jaipur based. We weren't based in Delhi or Bangalore or Ahmedabad or Hyderabad, where you had an ecosystem that was already flourishing for a startup culture. 10 years ago there was no startup India, right?
Yeah.
And we were in Jaipur. There was no incubator. So literally it was learning from scratch, and you made thousands of mistakes. What to structure yourself as a company? How do you set up your own pitch deck? I'm working in a segment, rural India, which, let's be clear, no one saw as a viable market 10 years ago. Everyone saw that only as a nonprofit place. It's a charity place, it's a sarkari place. Nobody was touching rural India back then. And there was no technology that you could actually bring in. So the struggles were many, right? Convincing investors that rural markets are here to stay, that it's not a charity case, but it's actually a business opportunity. Again, investing in women is smart business, not a charity case, but a really smart opportunity. Showing the viability of how to make that happen and making connects. Um, my other major challenge was also that I was a American girl, NRI, right, who was 25 years old, who was coming and saying that she's going to solve rural India's, distribution challenge. So you can imagine that the old men in the room would look at me like this girl's crazy. I mean, she has an American accent. Why would she know Bharat India? And why would a 25-year-old girl be able to solve this? So dealt with those stereotypes. But I also was lucky that education and the work that I did in microfinance gave me a lot of amazing mentors. And I was very lucky to early on get great VC investors that, ultimately said, we believe in the founder. She might, distort our money, but at least we'll get to learn something. Today, those investors are still with Frontier Markets. And as you know, I mean, we've been thriving and we've been profitable for 5 years. And it's something that I think we're very proud of to see that happens. The last thing I'll say, because I am going to answer the question I would love for you to ask me, is what makes us uniquely better being women entrepreneurs?
Right.
In my opinion, women are amazing multitaskers. I think we know how to connect with building value and culture within organizations, which is very different. If you want to be a social business, meaning you really have an intentionality to create impact as well as create purpose and profitability, you need to build that culture into your organization. We have 450 people today in our organization that are working with these women. It takes a lot of different kind of passion and ethos to build that culture down the entire value chain to ensure everybody has a gender lens. Secondly, I think women are very good at partnerships. Today, it takes a different kind of lack of ego to be able to then bring in all different kinds of partners, whether it's a government partner, whether it's an NGO partner, whether it's ed tech, fintech, health tech, ag tech companies, bringing everyone on the same page and getting them to understand that we can build win-win coalitions with incentives takes a lot of patience. And I think that that's really made us become unique to who we are today because people all trust us because we're genuinely different in how we think. And I do think that women tend to be stronger leaders in that sort of way.
Very well said, Ajaita. Now, having narrated your journey, what difference do you see between your journey while that of women entrepreneurs coming from rural areas or tier three cities? And what would be your suggestions in filling that gap and uplifting women entrepreneurs as a whole?
So I'll tell you the common is that when I started versus these women today, nobody knew us. No one understands who the woman entrepreneur is. If you think about the ecosystem. So 10 years ago, when I started, no one understood me and no one knew how to help me achieve what I need to, because even I didn't know what I needed, frankly. So there was a lot of unawareness. And so to build an understanding, both on what's available in the ecosystem and also does the ecosystem know me to help me better, I think has been a common pain point even for tier three entrepreneurs today or rural women entrepreneurs today. There's an ecosystem of people today that want to help build entrepreneurs, right? We have all these women entrepreneur policies in the country, and we all know why livelihood creation for rural women is the direction. But if we're not including them in the conversation, and we're not coming in with what I like to call a feminist lens, right? Seeing the power of women versus seeing how we can push solutions to them, that's the gap, right? So, how do we do a better job involving women in creating opportunities for them, right? By getting to know them better. I think the other thing that I would say is that, of course, there is still a mentorship gap, there's a network gap, there's a platform gap, there's a training and skilling gap still. So, today I would still say if I compare myself to the millennial that is maybe 10 years younger than me, I'm not as digitally savvy as they are. Like, I'm happy that I can now finally open an Android and not get overwhelmed, right? But if I think about my gap, it's not nearly as bad as the rural women's gap, right? Who today is just getting onto technology and is using, a smartphone for the first time. So, catching her up on the digital gap is going to be a really big one, but also ensuring that we're designing income opportunities for her that allow her to thrive in the community that she lives in is very critical. And I think those kind of things we can solve for. And if we do, it's game changing.
Ajaita, Frontier Markets has reached around 5,000 villages across 3 states. What difference have you observed pre and post introduction of digitalization space in their lives, and how do you feel about it?
So I still remember when we were looking at the digital journey. It was in 2017-18 when demonetization and digitization happened at the same time. During that period of time, we had about 2,000 Sahelis. And I remember asking them this question that the internet has come. What would you like to see as a part of a digital journey, if any?
Right.
And they said, of course, we want a digital journey. And we said, why? Like, what would you want? And they said, I want a phone that has something that allows me to do all of my work on that phone. And we said, okay, but again, why? And they said, it will allow me to do my work faster. It will also allow you to see how good I am. And then she also said, and if you see how good I am, and I want to reach you faster, you will hear my voice and you will then bring more solutions quickly to where I live so I can earn more. And it was the most beautifully well said thing. The digitization journey for them has been that it's become their one stop shop solution to be able to do everything and anything that they need. In the last 4 years, I mean, we went from being a clean energy company to literally introducing over 1,000 different solutions on the platform and constantly listening to our Saheli's voice, getting her information and giving her commission super fast, where she's earning 5,000 to 10,000 rupees a month because of these interventions. And so when she looks at us, I remember one of the Saheli said to me, because remember, these women were eighth pass, age between 18 and 35, again, mother of four, and they were digitally illiterate. And these women say that, because of you, my children's friends think that my son's mother is a college graduate. She has a PhD because they watch her use the phone in a way that they've never seen anyone use the phone before. So the pride that comes in from these women is incredible, right? They're like, I have digital dukaan ghar ke dwara, where I've made everybody's life easy. I am now seen as the most literate person in my family, and I can get anything done for anyone. I've earned money in a way that allows me to contribute in a way that helps me ensure my daughters will stand on their own feet and get access to private education and not deal with my journey and not get married at the age of 14. And everyone now knows me for me. So, when I hear this, and this is true whether it's in UP, whether it's in Rajasthan, whether it's Maharashtra, every time I go, it's just incredible when you see that power of platform and you see the power of what voices can do and where, being digitally savvy is a very critical, game changing admiration for these rural women. And so, how do I feel about it? I mean, I feel fantastic, right? I think that nothing makes me prouder than to see the transformational change that we can make while also ensuring that there's a sustainable, profitable business that continues to thrive.
The transformation and the compliments are something to live up
Yeah.
to. So, Ajaita, we know your interest and knowledge about climate change, waste management, and the SDG sector as a whole. What have you been doing regarding this, and how do you wish to go ahead in the sector via frontier markets?
So we believe that climate change was man made, and we believe that women will be the solutions. That's our perspective. And it's a very strong one because we realize that the role that women play in households is very critical when it comes to behavioral decisions, consumption decisions. So whether that is buying household goods or whether that's making decisions on even getting rid of kerosene or buying LPG stove gas or looking at replacing firewood. Women are actually very critical in terms of how they play a role in making decisions in their family. If you train and educate them in a certain way, they'll be the first to change their behavior. And we've seen that in our own journey when we helped actually over 1 million families replace 100% of kerosene with solar lighting solutions, right? When we were able to help over 500,000 families change their chulas to having clean cook stoves and actually having people adopt solar friendly appliances. So that was our first big entry into climate, and it still continues to be. The second one that I think has been really exciting has been around the role of circular economy and waste management. So, women today, again, are critical when it comes to plastic consumption. So, if we look at the FMCG sector, today sachets are the critical thing that women buy because they have control over how their children consume.
Right.
But they can also, if incentivized correctly, become the most incredible conduits to recycle. So we've launched a recycling initiative. We've actually been replacing plastics and also, old torches and old lighting systems because there is a place for recycling to happen. The challenge has been no one has been able to organize, collect, and centralize to deliver. And the third, which I'm really excited about, is on the agri side. Today, we forget that Mahila Kisan are critical in this entire ecosystem. And frankly, women smallhold farmers are very interested in looking at climate mitigation, adaptation, and risk. And so we started doing projects with a couple of ag tech companies to introduce climate resilient seeds, to look at organic farming. So imagine if, as frontier markets continues to scale, today we have 1 million women and 25,000 women entrepreneurs. Tomorrow, 10 million, 100 million women on the platform, we can incentivize them to become the climate solvers for the country. Because these three practices combined by 1 million, 100 million families is a massive dent when it comes to climate carbon emission shift, which is something that we're very passionate about. And it's been a part of our strategy from day one.
Wonderful. Okay, so some quick rapid fire questions for you. Best book.
I'll tell you that my latest, I think, is my best book, is Frugal Innovation.
Okay. Favorite author.
Mark Twain.
Best quote.
This was actually said by someone in a panel discussion of mine. Walk in unapologetically feminist.
Favorite influencer.
The most recent Saheli I met, Munni Devi from UP. She is someone who is a cancer survivor, has 4 kids, and has helped over 50 women get access to different jobs and get their names back in the community. She's been my idol and my inspiration right now.
Favorite food.
Quinoa khichdi.
Your go-to pastime.
Go-to pastime, Netflix.
Okay. Best advice you've ever received.
There's a success and failure if you acknowledge it.
Ajaita's role model.
So I've been lucky to have amazing investors on and board members. So for me, Paula Mariwala, who is one of the first VC partners of Seed Fund, she was one of the first investors in the country and my first board member. And Eva Yazari, who gave me a chance to get into the impact investment space, which I was very proud of.
A quality that you admire the most in a person.
Empathy.
Okay. How would you like to be remembered?
Someone who never gave up and ensured to take everyone with her.
Thank you, Ajaita. This brings us towards the end of the show. In the end, any top 3 advices that you would like to give to our budding women entrepreneurs to just keep going in their journey, irrespective of the circumstances?
Believe in yourself because you already have the assets and qualities that you need because you started the journey in the first place. You know how to be a risk taker, you are a multitasker, and you really need to just have that passion to believe in yourself the way you've believed in everyone else. That's the first one. Second, always raise more capital than you actually think you need. We tend to be pragmatic. Stop, be optimistic, be a dreamer, and be okay with taking a risk. And third, know that there's always an ecosystem around you for support. Build that network, build that community of your own Sahelis to make sure that you can handle all those tough challenges because it is a bumpy ride.
Thank you so much, Ajaita, for sharing your remarkable journey with us. It was a pleasure to have you on SuperStree.
Thank you so much for having me.
On that note, I, Cheshta Jain, would like to say goodbye. We will be back with another episode of SuperStree Women in the Startup Ecosystem powered by Startup India DPIIT. Till then, my ladies, keep dreaming, setting goals, and staying determined to achieve what you desire. Thank you.